Hi everyone, welcome to Table for Two. I'm Onezie.
And I'm the Elusive Bigfoot.
Today we're talking about, we're going through all of our games from A to Z.
Right. Not all of them, but the ones we like.
The ones
A
we like.
lot.
We,
A
we like
lot.
we like a lot of our games.
That's true. I'd get rid of the ones I don't care for.
Today we're talking about the letter L,
Hmm.
and we're talking about the main base game and not expansions.
Hmm.
In general, those will be covered later.
Hmm.
And we're grouping versions together. So if there's a Star Wars version of something and a Jaws version of something,
Hmm.
we, we'll just group those all together instead of discussing them. I know I don't have a game
Yeah, I was like, that would be
yet.
an interesting game. There's a Star Wars and a Jaws version. I would be very open for that.
The Star Wars and Jaws love letter.
Hmm.
It's an idea. Game designers do it. So we're talking about the letter L today. And why don't you start us off with one of your games that begins with the letter L?
Okay. The first game that I'm going to mention is something that I got last year. I ordered it on during. No, I take it back. I'm sorry. It is a game that I ordered during the pandemic, and then last year it finally arrived. It is Let's Go to Japan.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's it's a game where you are planning your vacation basically in Japan, and you can either go to Kyoto or Tokyo, and you're riding the super train, or you can ride a regular train, and which is not as great, and then you're not as happy about that. You do different events. You have goals for every single day of the week, and if you meet that goal by doing that type of event that's written on your cards, because you'll lay out cards for your agenda, you'll get extra points. So there's little mini objectives to fulfill while you are planning your vacation for the whole week. So, let me see. That's what I want to say about that. What I like, what I like about the game, is the amazing things that you can choose from in order to plan that agenda. I mean, it just gives me a great look into Japan.
Yeah, I like that there's a lot of variability in the game.
Hmm.
So you kind of lay out some tokens at random
Hmm.
as for the scoring.
Each
Yeah,
day, which is going to be.
for
Hmm.
each day. So you might want to go shopping on one day and visit temples on another day and
Hmm.
try some yummy food
Hmm.
on the third day. And those days get mixed up. Furthermore, you can decide which side of a card you want to play.
Oh, good
So
point.
you can either
Yeah.
do that itinerary item
Hmm.
and try to score the points for that, or you can flip it over and take a walk. So with taking a walk, who knows what you're going to discover. So the card is upside down,
Hmm.
and you can either leave it upside down and just get points for taking a walk, or maybe you discovered something good on the
Hmm.
other side and it will help you score points. You know, it'll be a nice surprise if you can
Yeah.
score points for that.
One of the other things that I really like about this game is the card drafting element. And in the different rounds, you will be having a hand of cards. You'll either play one or two and then pass two, or you'll be drawing one or two. It'll tell you what to do. So we're passing cards back and forth, like this doesn't really help me. Good luck on that one. And I'll get a new set. Like maybe I'll get something where I can discard a card and draw a new one. It's I like it.
Yeah, I like that about the game board too, that it tells you what to do on
Mm.
each turn or each round.
Hmm.
So you're not constantly having to look at the rule book and
Hmm.
figure out what to do.
Yeah.
It tells you on this round, draw two cards and pass two cards. Okay,
Hmm.
now I don't need to look that up.
Hmm.
So we got that down. The other thing I like about this game is it makes me want to go to Japan.
Me
It's
too.
got a lot of cool
Yeah.
stuff in it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll actually plan a trip to Japan. You never know.
All right, let's go to Japan.
Let's go to Japan. And the way that he wrote it out, it says "Let's go!" exclamation point and then to Japan. So my question to AEG: Are you guys going to make us more games? Because that would be great.
Let's go to San Diego.
We're here.
Okay, the next L game that I want to talk about is Lost in Relay.
Oh, nice one. Yes,
So
that's also on my list.
it's a Cthulhu themed game.
Hmm.
It's a card game, and it's not really a play and pass kind of game, but you play your cards,
Hmm.
and depending on how many cards you play,
Hmm.
because you play them in groups or
Hmm.
sets, how many you play, it triggers a special ability that's written on the card. So you may be getting more cards, you may be losing more cards, you may be giving cards to your opponent, and the idea is to eventually get rid of all your cards, including some special cards that are laid out in the beginning of the
The
game.
escape cards.
Yeah, the escape cards. So the thing that really tickled my funny bone about this game too is that in the rules it says there is no winner.
Right.
There's only a loser
Right.
who goes mad.
So you play until there's only one person left standing.
Right. So it's a madness. You try to avoid going mad.
Yeah.
It's a very fits with the Cthulhu theme. I like it.
Okay, one of the things I really like about this game is that you're supposed to play a card, but what you could choose to do instead is pick up the stack, and then you have groups of a certain number. So, for instance, if I only had two number fives in my hand, and there's a whole bunch of fives, I may choose to pick that up because now I can kick off more abilities. So sometimes people want to mess with me and they keep giving me cards, but what they don't know is, especially in the early parts of the game, you must go through the entire draw deck. I'll take all the cards because now I get more and more powerful, and it takes them a while to realize. And I tell them, you can always pick up the stack to trigger more abilities, but nobody really does that. But I'll keep picking it up because I know what's in that stack.
Yeah, it's a little deceptive because the goal of the game is to get rid of your cards.
Right.
But the more cards you have, the more powerful you are.
Right. So you first have to go through the draw deck and get rid of that. Then you have to play your entire hand. Once you remove that, you get to pick up one of the escape cards, unless you have cards that tell you differently. Sometimes you can play a special card that says, and pick up an escape card, or it'll say, and give another opponent the escape, one of your escape cards or one of your cards. So there's a fine balance that you do, but honestly, in the beginning, just keep picking up the stack. I can't recommend that enough.
So that's Lost in Relay.
Okay. One of my next games that I want to talk about is The Lost Ruins of Arnak. You get to play like an Indiana Jones kind of person and go and discover relics. So you'll be moving out into the board where you either need a boat or a plane to get to further areas to discover and explore. On the side of the board, there's a track where you can go up and collect different tomes, or you can collect magnifying glasses, or you just keep going up and discover things, which I think is really part of the trick of scoring great points is go up that explorer track. You need to go up because there's a lot of points in that as well. Really enjoy it. I enjoyed how there's a drafting element at the top where there's certain cards you'll always be able to see, but then there's like a stick that you move over and things on one side of the stick are going to be removed from the game and new things come out. So that's why I like it. It's just that I think it's got a great theme that plays through. What about you?
Yeah,
Do you like this game?
Yes, and just thematically, it feels like you're in an Indiana Jones movie raiding for artifacts.
Yeah.
So
and battling monsters.
And battling stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one of those games where we both have to battle together to beat the monsters sometimes. So kind of tricky.
Monster Ruins of Arnak.
Monster Ruins.
Monster Ruins. All right. The next one up on my list is Loot Letter. Loot Letter. So some of you may be familiar with a game called Love Letter. So it's a trick-taking game. Would you call it that?
Yeah, I would say that.
So
I mean, well, it's there's not really suits, but there are high card wins.
So we start with a group of cards, and we each play a card on a turn. And depending on what the two cards are, something happens. Someone collects the cards. There are special powers, right? So in the original version, which is Love Letter, it's very I don't know, kind of classical love story kind of thing.
With a princess.
Yeah, but in Loot Letter, it's based on Munchkin, the game Munchkin. So we have characters from the Munchkin world in there, and it's very kind of corny and fun and not too serious.
Yes.
Loot Letter.
Yeah, Loot Letter. So the next game, I have two games left, and one is my high one, is number one. What about you?
Okay, I've got two left, so why don't I go again?
Okay.
So one game I want to talk about that I really like when we break out and play, we played it recently,
Mm-hmm.
is lanterns.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tile laying game
Mm-hmm.
where you put out your lanterns on a lake,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a lantern festival. And depending on how you lay your tiles down, like dominoes,
Mm-hmm.
whatever colors are matching or whatever colors are facing you, you collect cards based on those colors.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put a tile down, a color faces your opponents as well, and they collect the colors that are facing them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a set collection game. You collect these cards, and then you turn the cards in for special rewards that get you points at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very beautiful looking. By the time you're done playing the game, you have this sea of lanterns on the
Yeah.
table, and it just looks really nice.
Yeah, I like how each tile has got four different parts to it. So sometimes they have different colors, sometimes there's duplicate colors on it, and it becomes strategic about which way you want the tile to face. It's not mandatory that you match another color with your color that you're putting on there where it joins in. But if you do, you'll also get that bonus color as well. So it's a great strategy game as well.
Yeah, and there are other benefits too, where
Hmm.
there are some objects out there,
Hmm.
and if you place a tile that has an object in the
Hmm.
middle of it, you can gain uh, is it
Hmm.
honor points, and those will help you at the end of the game too. Or you could trade them for other things during the game, like to swap a card out
Hmm.
that you need or
Yeah,
something like that.
very good. Okay, so my next game is Long Shot, the dice game. So I really like this game. It represents basically a horse race. You're rolling dice and seeing which of these horses are going to advance, which extra powers can I get, which horse do I want to buy and take it into mine, and I manage it, and those powers will trigger. So I I like this game. It's so much fun.
Long shot.
Long Shot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's made by the guy Chris Handy who does those Perplex games, the little gumstick
Hmm.
ones, and so just really like that.
Yeah, we played a few kind of horse racing games or racing
Racing
games,
games,
and
yeah.
this is a good one,
Hmm. It
So
travels well for
yeah,
sure.
that's for sure. Was that your number one?
No,
It's not.
no.
So I'm up to my number one.
I'm about to do my number one.
I don't know if they're the same. Sometimes we know, and I'm not quite sure if
All
I know
right.
on this
Why don't you
one.
do yours? You're number one, right?
Yeah, my number one. My number one is Legendary. So we have a couple of versions of
Mm-hmm.
this, but with Legendary, it's a card game, and you're trying to defeat villains with heroes,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And we have a Marvel version where you're trying to defeat the Marvel villains using your Marvel heroes. And that's very fun. But the one I like the best is the Big Trouble in Little China
That's a great one.
version of Legendary. We're both fans of the kind of cheesy old movie from our youth,
Mm-hmm.
and the characters in it, like there's the Pork Chop Express, there's
Which is his truck.
Jack,
Mm-hmm.
the
Margot.
yeah, there's everybody from the movie is in there,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's very fun and entertaining. And so basically, the villains come out, and some of them you have to defeat in a certain part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Others you can just defeat anywhere. But the idea is you want to defeat the villains before they escape the city,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Sometimes they'll take hostages
Mm-hmm.
along the way, or bystanders. That's what they're called, right? Is that a different
The
game?
bystanders, those are that's from the Marvel.
That's from the Marvel
That's from the
one.
Marvel
Okay,
game.
yeah, yeah,
So you'll definitely want to save the hostages.
yeah. Save the citizen,
Hmm.
right? That's a be the good guy, right?
Yeah.
So legendary,
Hmm.
both Marvel and Big Trouble in Little China. That's my number one
Oh,
pick.
that's so good. I mean, what I really like about that series is that Marvel feels so different in some ways than Big Trouble in Little China because they both carry the theme so well. Like Spider-Man can do so many different things, and his cards generally don't cost that much because he's just dinging and dinging and dinging like that. Um, and then the Big Trouble in Little China, the flavor text on there is so perfect, and the things you're able to do. Love both games.
They're both good. I
Mm-hmm.
find just in general, Marvel themed things
Mm-hmm.
in general are serious. They take themselves pretty
Yeah.
seriously, with a few exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
But Big Trouble in Little China does not take itself
No,
seriously, and
not
it's
at all.
very entertaining and fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that brings me to my number one game. And my number one game that begins with L is Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle Earth.
That's a good one.
So in this game, you have an app, and the app is going to be like your game master. And you'll have, instead of rolling dice to see what hit points are and where you're going and if you're safe, you have cards that you flip over. You get to play one of the characters in Middle Earth, and they even created one girl who is an elf, I think. So I usually don't play her. I usually play Legolas. So I really like him. And you're just taking a fresh storyline, and you're going out and you're exploring. You could be Bilbo, you can be Aragon, you could be Gimli. There's different characters you can choose to play. There's miniatures involved, there's areas to explore, there's dungeons to crawl into, monsters to fight, and they have great monsters that come in the base set. So if that's a game that you're interested in and you don't have someone to be the game master, the app does it for you. It will tell you where to go. It'll tell you what you're about to discover. There's tons of little pieces of map that are all odd shaped, and it tells you how to fit it together, and this is what you're going to find. So all of that combined, that is why that's my number one game.
I really like this game. As a teenager, I was into D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things about Dungeons and Dragons is it was never the official canon of
Yeah,
Tolkien,
right.
right? It was generic dwarf, generic
Mm-hmm.
elf, generic wizard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I know what a hint.
But with this game, they got the IP,
Mm-hmm.
so you can actually, play Gimli, or
Mm-hmm.
you could actually play Legolas,
Yeah,
right? It's very fun that way. You feel like you're more in the story
yeah,
of Tolkien.
yeah.
And like you said, the app is the dungeon master for you. So if you want to play a role playing game, but you don't want to do all the prep of being the
Mm-hmm.
dungeon master, creating the dungeon, rolling up your characters,
Mm-hmm.
and all that, Journeys in Middle Earth is a great one.
It is. I mean, it's a co-op game, so we generally find that Legolas and Gimli work really well together. So we tend to take those two characters. But they have other expansions that you can buy and download. Other characters you can buy and paint them. I mean, it's just a gorgeous game.
All right, so those are our top games that begin with L.
Mhm.
What are your games that begin with L that you like to play? Please let us know. And
Like and subscribe.
like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Until next time, I am Onesie.
And I'm the Elusive Bigfoot. Thanks so much. Bye bye.